Hey everyone, welcome back! Today we will be talking about the new topics that were released for A Mystery Profound, Hell's Hot Paradise. Joining me today is the OG discussion partner, Erbie.
Hello, I'm here.
Yes, he survived, and everyone else died due to Zhurong's cuteness. We'll have to associate them later. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop right into this. We will be first off talking about the ARs. So, Erbie, go ahead and start with the 3 stars as well as the 4-star ARs.
Okay, the first AR is, assuming the slides are in order, you posted, is the Daikoku and Mineaki AR. It can be equipped by them, of course, and either in other units. Its effects is 1.2 times advantage against skill lock. It's pretty low, but it's a 3-star, I guess. It's supposed to be pretty shit to begin with. And it has an effect of applying before attacking Dazzle to the enemies you hit at an abysmally low 15%. And if you max it, you get it a total amount of a 30% Dazzle. Wow. Totally not
incredible.
This AR is pretty shit.
That's pretty generous. That's pretty horrendously shit.
Yes, fine. It's horrendously shit, but all of the 3 stars will be, as we will see later. And so, but yeah, I guess you can use it to exploit the skill lock, but it's not worth it. They're better ARs to get
times damage.
Bigger multiplier. But yeah, that's pretty much the only use case that I would give it. I wouldn't even consider the Dazzle, considering it's just such a low rate. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. There's no, even if you were to use, there's no way around that 15%, 30% rate. So don't bother with that Dazzle. We even have a free full board Dazzle AR when appearing, so who cares about this? But yeah, use this only as your background for the main screen if you want, because it's drawn by Absol. Hopefully he makes a unit for Housamo, and that's it. And that's my thoughts.
That's fine. I will say it is pretty rare for us to be able to inflict any sort of scaling debuff at all, or buff for 3 stars. So if you're a whale, you know, there's a Dazzle up for you. Pretty powerful if you're a whale at a shit rate anyways. You might want to put it on someone who can take advantage of the debuffs, I guess, since it has both a debuff and an advantage against it. So like, there's Ulan Butter, I guess, is a water variant. But other than that, yeah, don't ever use this AR. Bad. Right. Let's move on.
Speaking of bad ARs,
moving on to the next one.
We have the Zhurong and Barguest AR that can be equipped by them and slash and blow units, and it has the amazing effects of applying when appearing spirit at 50% at level 1. If you max this AR, you can get 100% spirit, which we already have an AR that gives 100% spirit at level 1, which is the Erbie AR. It's also 3-star. So I don't know what's going on here. And that one is, I'm pretty sure it's phase-starred, not when appearing. So
50% of the weakest debuff in the game, only on arrival, that will disappear immediately after.
Yes.
They're really cooking a lot here.
They really cooked. And speaking of cooking, they really cooked this very cool turn start effect of granting adjacent allies 1 CP every turn, but it's only an 80% rate. You need to max the AR to be, and if you max the AR, you'll no longer give 1 CP, you'll give 2 CP to adjacent allies every turn. Wow, it's completely shit. You should never use this AR.
Yeah, I concur. Never use this AR. It's like 1 to 2 CP. It's not gonna help you ever in battle. Like, what the hell is that?
You can use it in your main screen if you like Zhurong and Barguest, I guess.
I would use it, but I don't like Barguest, so in the bin you go. Alright, moving on to the 4-star air. Surely it gets better from here, Erbie. Tell us all about it.
No, it doesn't. Okay, it's a little bit better. It's chill shit.
Is it really better?
So, I don't know. At least it's guaranteed. It has a guaranteed effect. Okay, the next AR is the Zhurong and Bunyan AR, which can be equipped by them, and water and all-round units, which is pretty rare to have ARs that can be equipped by all-round units. So put on them. And its effects are phase start, 1 square around allies, 300 HP heal at level 1. This is guaranteed, so you can get a 300 HP heal guaranteed on phase start to adjacent allies. Not adjacent, 1 square around allies. If you max it, it's 600, but the rates are already 100%, so you're only increasing the HP. And you have an attack modifier against Ardor, against enemies with Ardor, at a 1.5 times rate. This
we definitely needed that.
Also a pretty shit AR. We already have a lot of ARs that exploit Ardor, so I don't know why we keep getting them. But here it is, another one that exploits Ardor. At least it has a shitty heal at phase start, but it's only at phase start. It's only 300. This is
like half of Blessing.
Yes.
Just
it's like
it's. I mentioned this
it's
before.
It's 1 turn of the Dagon skill evolution.
It's awful. It's like it's
on
the
phase
worst
start,
fucking.
Only.
The phase start is the worst timing for healing because, like, you know, one, like it doesn't matter if you heal when you're already at full health, and 2, if you're talking about going to a new phase, like it's just gonna instantly weaken things like limit to preemptively defeat enemies, and it's like 1 time only too, so it's kind of like pretty fucking terrible. It's like never use this AR, ever.
This is guaranteed, but yes, never use the CR.
Like, you can make an argument for tanks, but like literally tanks are better off, you know, with multiple turns for healing. So like 300 for 1 turn over several turns is no, never use this AR.
In the bin it goes, and that's it for all my topics.
For now.
Do you want me to read the chat?
Yes, please.
Let's see. Be gone, Paul. Okay. Having difficulties. Okay, it's good now.
Be gone.
The poll doesn't disappear. Okay, it's right here. Zhurong emoji. Hello, everyone. Wave. Good evening. Hey, guys. Mineaki and Daikoku slay. Wow, 30% poo-poo garbo banner filler.
So true.
I'm pretty sure almost the entire banner is filler, but oh my god, the Christmas Ulan synergy. No, not that.
Awful.
Not that. No, please.
Perhaps it was best that only you joined today. So that we wouldn't have to extend talking about these super mega trash ARs.
Yes. I can see last users with Keiichi and Licho, but would you use a 3-stars AR instead of a better option that is another story, sadly? Yes.
Especially with like all the free 5-star ARs you can get from Unfried Shop, like literally all of them are better. Even the fucking like leaked Mel's scene AR, which does nothing in battle, at least is better as a stat stick than whatever this is.
Garbage.
Actual garbage.
1 CP poggers. Yes, 1 CP. Best pop-up AR, but I must agree all 3-star AR in this banner is just cat in a box. It's not just the 3-star, sadly. Oh shoot, I didn't notice it is today.
Yeah, this is when that happened, so I wanted to move it in a day earlier.
Yeah, it's definitely sussy. Attack modifier effect is already a no from me. It's not always as bad, but Ardor, who cares about Ardor? Oh, Zhurong, my precious child. Bar 3. Hopefully we will be in Meta Beach event. Never.
Beach, babe.
Let's not go into the metaverse, please. Beach banners are meta. Oh, that's what he meant. At least Modern Life Wonders, not the past. Well, that's debatable. Disappointing effect. S+ art illustration. That's all the comments. No, that's not. Never mind.
You just didn't want to read the comment about Kamui, I'm sure.
Paul begone. Heyo, I can smell Kamui winning from afar. Of course he is. This banner has lots of good art, but very bad kids. Yes, this AR banner is garbage, but spoilers.
I do think the art itself is kind of mid, but that's kind of a whatever topic here. All the lighting's kind of boring in all the ARs. Alright, we're gonna move on to the slightly better ARs, but still not really anything to write home about. The 5-star ARs. We are going to be talking about the Sarutahiko Onamuchi AR, because it is actually labeled as Onamuchi within the game files instead of Daikoku. So this AR bestows a blessing to self as well as to allies adjacent at phase start at a decent rate, 80%. And on turn start, it also bestows arousal, which gives 10 CP at the end of turn. It's like, this AR is not going to be good for people who don't know every other unit in a game to really know when to best use it, because most of these effects by themselves are very, like, weak, to be honest. But, like, if you do know the units that best synergize with each of these weak effects, you could make it, like, an okay-ish emergency AR. So, for example, Blessing has become more recently relevant as a general stronger buff for specific category units that have a blessing strengthening effect, which can vary depending on the unit. For example, there are defensive variants such as Zhurong's Gangster variant, as well as Nobumichi's base card. They can bestow blessing strengthening that makes it a defense buff in a sense. There's also Virtue, who applies it to self, which makes it a defense buff as well as a damage buff. And then there's Asterius as well as Citri, which can use it as an activation rate buff. So for Asterius, it's 30% to self, additional activation rate. And for Citri, it's to all allies, including self, plus 10%. And you may also want to... So those are actually all the units that can directly equip it. There are also cases where you can just have someone in the same team, and this AR will still be helpful. They don't necessarily need to equip this AR directly. So there is, of course, Sunshine Shoji, who bestows Blessing Strengthening to the entire board, which just straight up amplifies damage by 2 times. You can also get a similar effect if you bring someone else that is equipping the Jurassic Cast AR, aka the Bunyan Labe AR. Then there is the Masashi, who in his rare card can boost damage if you have Blessing by 1.5 times to, I believe it's like allies encircling him, something like that. And maybe it's board wide. And most recently, we now have a Belphegor who can give 10 CP per turn if you have Blessings, so incredible effect there.
Incredible.
So true. But yeah, it's the arousal is at like an okay rate at 30%, 5%. It's not amazing, but you know, the fact that you can get 10 CP every turn theoretically, since arousal doesn't scale in terms of how much CP it gives based on level, it's always 10 CP. It can be nice for people that want to accelerate their quick charge. So there are units like Gangstar Zhurong or his base version even, and then there's also Amaterasu who can also hook up this. And all these units want to get their charge up quickly and then continue their loop. Zhurong kind of has struggles in his Gangstar card to get his charge up again after his first time, so this can help to build up his charge the second and third time onward. Zhurong, his base card can actually build it up decently fast, but this will help get that burst run off before he sets up his own loop. Same thing with Amaterasu. There's plenty of other units that could use it, such as Bigfoot and Corpicure. There's also units that can doubly benefit from arousal because they get a charge fill every time they're buffed. There's some units like Inaba, Yasudori, Ulaanbaatar, Tsukiyomi's Night Vessel variant, Loki, who gives a ridiculous 20 CP to self for every buff he receives, Fafnir, Amano Jaku, if you remember he existed, and Kagutsushi, although he's a bit redundant because he already gives arousal to self after being buffed. There's only one unit though that gives arousal strengthening if you want to play around that. That's Krampus. He also bestows arousal to himself, but it's not a very reliable rate, so this can maybe make him slightly more reliable. So yeah, that's all my thoughts for this middling AR with, demanding of your knowledge to have even only okay impact.
Yeah, this AR, I don't know what else to say, honestly. Already went in so much unnecessary, specific case-by-case detail that there's nothing else to say.
I'm sorry for doing my research, Erbie. Jeez.
It's nice. I do think that it's nice that Christmas Retro can finally have an AR that can give him blessing. Yeah, as Zalgas has already said before, since he didn't have access to that.
Everyone keeps on forgetting that stupid otter plushie AR. I'm pretty sure you could have picked up that too.
It's ugly though. It has otter, so it doesn't matter. Okay. But yeah, I like the art in this one though, so it's fine. Very, very sussy Onamuchi leg around Sarutahiko.
I do think this is probably Sarutahiko's most flattering art. When everywhere else he's always just giving like the same exact face in the same position. So good stuff. They made his hair look pretty swag too. It's great how we can only talk about the art when there's nothing else to say. Alright, well, we'll move on. That's fine. We'll move on to the next topic. So the next topic is the last AR of the bunch, and this is going to be the Horkeu, Kamui, and Xolotl 5-star AR. So this AR gives amplifies damage by 1.5 times to self as well as allies if the unit has nourishment as well. And it also lets the unit bestow to self nullify debuff at a pretty low rate every time they hit a unit. So obviously it's a team-wide board-wide amp is always nice to have for an AR, as was the case for the legendary ARs for concentration strengthening, which I believe is the Kurugane Nomad one. And then there was also the Boogeyman one, which I mentioned earlier, for blessing strengthening. This one is more on the weaker side because it's only 1.5 times, kind of like the Order Strengthening one was only good for me, or the is it Arousal one with I forgot what it was, but there was one with a Tezcali Pokken Hombre Tiger that was also kind of mid. But yeah, the boost is kind of weak. I guess it's supposed to balance out the fact that it's already a damage buff, but I don't buy it. They really need to do it, especially since concentration strengthening already increases damage by 2 times. There's only one unit in the game right now, to my knowledge, that can bestow nourishment board-wide, and that is a Perrin after moving. There are, of course, other allies you can use to bestow nourishment, albeit not at a board-wide range, but Perrin's probably your best bet if you just want immediate impact for that 1.5 times. If you are lacking in damage by just a smidge for other reason. You may want to stack this with other nourishment strengthening effects. There is Gabriel's Panic variant, who gives 10 CP per turn if you want this to now give damage as well as increase your charge fill. There is Sarutahiko, who already amplifies damage if you move him for nourishment by 2.5 times. And there's the Gumas No AR, which increases things defensively by a tiny bit, like 0.8 times, barely anything. And then there's a Shigura, his beach variant, which increases damage by 2 times only to self, although he does not really have a way to get nourishment himself besides on arrival. Besides that, the Nullify debuff is a pretty weak effect in terms of its rate, but you may find use for it for tanks that don't really have any debuff negation, so I feel like there's a number of people that could benefit from that, even if it's low rate. But the most prominent example would probably be Tyndalus's Dragon's variant, since he is notorious for being a very powerful tank and damage amp that, you know, just almost brings damage to 0, but has like almost no other tanking form, including debuff negation. Alright, that's everything I got. What do you think, Erbie?
I don't think the Nullify debuff effect is as weak as that, considering it does have a reroll chance for every hit, but I would have preferred if it was before hitting, but we can't have everything, can we? Because that would actually make it a lot better, since you could actually nullify counter debuffs from when you hit specific units. But it's still pretty neat. I'm not really buying the nourishment strengthening, but
it's gonna happen, just like blessing strengthening. Not really.
It's a damage amp, I guess. It's a Tyramighty in disguise.
In disguise.
That's being too generous, because Tyramighty has a million lines kit. This is just one part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't think this AR is too bad, but the nourishment strengthening, fuck that shit. Playing around that is just no.
Yeah, the options aren't there for it, unlike Blessing.
At least it's good for farming in this event, since all the bonus units have nourishment on themselves. So I guess there's that. You have additional damage on units that already one-shot.
All the units are really good, they don't need help. Whatever.
They don't, but it's funny.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and read out the chat, because they were ARs, they definitely were. Where were we? This banner has lots of good art, but very bad kits. I think that was the last one. AR hoarding?
It was.
Alright, thanks. AR hoarding for main menu screen. It's like, once you already figure out one AR, you're really like, is there really any reason to switch it? Ice cream time is never mid. I guess that's a big Bunyan one. Funny that Kamui Xolotl AR is better one for Sarutahiko. Well, it is, but then you'd have to use Sarutahiko, so that sounds like an L to me. You can put it on Mephistopheles for perfect countdown strat. This AR? Or is he talking about the previous one? I don't really understand how that works.
I'm pretty sure he's talking about the blessing one, because he has blessing weakening.
Oh, does he?
He has blessing weakening.
Okay.
Or something, yeah.
Sure, amazing. Normal 5-star Daikoku with AR would have extra 35% free 10 charge fill here. I guess this is for the arousal one. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably for the arousal one. It's good.
Yeah, it is.
Is his charge worth having, Erbie? I don't even know what his charge is. It's like...
It's like charm and heal and guts to everyone. It's not really that worth it, honestly.
He's better off missing as far as protective effects, isn't it? Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure... Yeah, it's not worth it.
Alright. Too bad it doesn't save Sarutahiko from the trash bin. It certainly does not. Sad fact. Wow, the Belfico meta is here. It's not happening. Unfortunately. He's still hugging your Shi. Yes, already mentioned? Yeah, you can equip him with the Arousal AR, which, you know, that was the last topic, but sure. Hold on, was this a 5-star AR? Skull emoji. Two bros chilling in the onsen because they are gay. Yeah, good for them, good for them. I love how otter is just a random otter. I don't. You could stay go. Sarutahiko, Horkeu, Kamui, and Xolotl sandwich. Yeah, you're just like hiding behind Xolotl right now. You must agree this AR is pretty okay for its effects. That is definitely an agreement statement to me. Ooga! Finally, the Tatsuya Nourishment Boost synergy. But you can't put this on Perrin. I'm not saying you need to put it in Perrin. He doesn't need to equip it. It's because the nourishment effect is worldwide and this nourishment strengthening is worldwide. So you could just slap it on anywhere else in the team. So it was like, Perrin doesn't necessarily benefit more with having this directly equipped. Even though he can't anyways. Fever protection is 30%, with 30% is an okay trade-off, you suppose, but the fact Summer Lave is already strong enough with debuff, prevention, and damage amps. Yeah, I mean, it's always like, if you're gonna compare it with the best options, and a lot of this stuff is like absolute trash, but you might find a use if you're not actually quite there yet with the most cutting-edge units, or, you know, equivalents anyways. It's been Tarumaiti, always has been. Yeah, she's so strong. You guys have no idea. I'm not even sure if anyone else uses Tarumaiti besides me, but like she's actually like one of those ridiculously strong units with Oz in the game right now. Okay, you got this AR? It's been forever since you got a 5-star AR. Congrats! Tea-time best AR proven for you. Wrong. JK. Was it Tea-time AR? I don't even remember.
I think it's the Astaroth Bale one. I don't think it's very good, so far as I remember.
Is that the one that gives poison or
something?
something?
To do about poison? I don't know. I don't know what it does.
Why would you want that? Whatever. It's an appreciated amp, I guess. The best AR ever. Well, of course, that would probably be the popular opinion considering Horkeu Kamui is in there. Poor Xolotl though, 0 votes? You guys are haters. Why is everyone voting for Horkeu Kamui? I mean, it's no surprise, but like seriously, I thought there'd be a different distribution of people who like to based on who would join these sort of discussions, but I guess not.
It's impossible.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure like people who like Horkeu Kamui by the majority are just people who don't necessarily play the game that deeply. So I'm like, why are there still so many people in the votes voting for him? How is this possible? He's not even like that good of a unit among the set. We'll talk about it. Actually, we're not even going to talk about it because he didn't get an Evo.
We're not going to talk about it today.
Yeah.
Or ever, because he didn't get a skill evolution.
Yeah, it's fine. Best AR ever. I don't know about that. Softly says Blessing Weakening. I see. That's confirmed by Erbie. Guard Dog Bassar coming soon. That is in his 5-star art. It's kind of funny how he looks like he's giving you his bathwater. Guys can probably. Yeah, Xolotl already, so getting Horkeu was the goal. Got him. Nice. Okay, we are finally done with this Omega trash and mid shit, so we are finally moving on to the units, which are already amazing, and now have received some... Except for Sarutahiko, which we're starting off with now.
The first one! We did it!
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Erbie.
Okay, Sarutahiko was probably the one that needed a skill evolution the most. And he did get one, but, well, we'll just see about that. Okay, first of all, he got a skill evolution to his second skill, his Enthusiastic Guider, which made his ardor on the slash range behind him 100%, so no more skill seed bait. He has guaranteed ardor after moving to himself and his allies behind him, so that's okay. It's always nice to see skill evolutions that make skill seed bait guaranteed, because it makes it easier to use and not need to fucking skill seed bait or use glint or whatever shit that is. Unfortunately, he didn't come with much else, to be honest. He got 2 new effects, which aren't really that big to begin with. He now applies, after moving 1 square around himself and to himself, Purification Strengthening for 3 turns, which gives 10 CP while the units have Purification. So, since he starts with Purification himself, and it's a pretty large 2 square diamond radius around him, so it's pretty much always going to be in play here. Sarutahiko has always been one of the, if not the best unit to apply Purification. The problem was that he didn't have much else other than that.
I mean, he was the first unit to apply Purification, so it's like slightly misleading to say he was the best one. I mean, it's
He's
true,
still
but
the best one in terms of having it reliably at 100% and at large radius.
I mean, he's like the best one for that one buff. But like, do you really want to be known as the guy that is just there for the one buff?
The facts. I didn't say he was good to use. I was trying to say, yes, he is the best unit for Purification. The problem with him was that he didn't do much else. That's exactly what's happening here.
What about Israfil?
What?
Doesn't Israfil have Purification?
Yes, but I'm pretty sure it's not 100%.
Oh.
Or it's something stupid like it doesn't affect himself to begin with.
Maybe it's that, yeah.
So fuck that shit. But yeah. He also gained the new effect that's an after debuff heal of 400 HP. 2 allies only, not himself, at 1 square around him, but at 80%, which means it's not guaranteed. Since he's a Purification unit, you're probably going to want you are probably going to want to use him with quests that have a lot of debuffs. So, since he does have Purification and has means to refresh it with his CS as well, this could potentially be useful to heal his allies a little bit, although it's not going to help himself. He still has a problem. All his major problems are still there. This is a pretty trash skill evolution that doesn't really do much for him in particular. Yes, it did make his ardor guaranteed. It did give him some extra support with the heal and CP generation, but his defenses are still at a 50% rate. Fuck that shit. It's fucking useless. He's also a unit that you're going to want to move, and the only thing that he does here is just when he moves is he's just going to give you some CP gem, ardor to allies, and nourishment strengthening, which he doesn't bestow to begin with. So I was kind of expecting him to bestow nourishment somehow in the skill evolution, and he didn't end up doing that. So yeah, this is a pretty trash skill evolution. This isn't going to change if you're going to use him or not. Probably never going to use him unless you really want this 100% purification threat, which I don't see how or when you're going to need it.
Just use Gabriel for the 100% at 100 CP. It's happening.
No.
Believe.
No, I refuse. But yeah, that's it. There's nothing here. It's just a bunch of weak effects and a guaranteed ardor.
Yeah, it's like this set of evolutions is so weird because they gave a bunch of people who didn't need it like pretty good at strong ones, and then the one who needed it most like absolutely nothing. Giant middle finger. Jeez. But yeah, he'd be like, there's only like one unit he has particularly decent synergy with, I think, and it's like his nourishment, which Erbie I feel didn't emphasize enough. He doesn't have nourishment despite him amplifying nourishment.
I did say that.
I know you said it, but like to emphasize how stupid that is, that it's like such an important part of his, like it's half the reason why you want to move him, and he doesn't even have anything with it to do it, not even on charge. It's like, it's so dumb. And the range of it, of his what's called his ardor, is only to allies behind. So if you want to get both amps, then the most, the best use case is to have someone who can both, have nourishment for themselves, maybe give it to allies as well, and have snipe range, because they're certainly not going to be column clearing from shot range if they're hiding behind Sarutahiko. There's only exactly one unit that can do that, and that's Marduk of all units. He has snipe range, and he can bestow nourishment to his allies, and he doesn't need to move to do it, because apparently you want to move Sarutahiko for these two amps. So very, very, very specific. You can see it in this footage here. There is indeed a Marduk. He's doing it. Kind of.
He's doing it.
Synergy.
No.
But yeah, if you want, you can also refresh Purification with Fafnir or Rampus's Jiangxi variant, which I did in my challenge quest clear a long time ago. And you may, of course, want to bring this unit for debuff heavy quests with Pazuzu, so that you're getting a bunch of healing as well as a debuff mitigation. But, you have better options at like Aizen or some shit, and it's like you're not going to use Sarutahiko just for the one buff. It's like the single unit is only good for the one buff, which at this point there's a good amount of other choices now. Like certainly he's the best choice for it, but it doesn't excuse the fact that every other unit who can do it offers so much other utility that when they do get it and they have other utility, like why would you use Sarutahiko for the single buff? And we can even get that buff from an AR now. That's like 3-star and free that you can spread too. So there's like no reason to use Sarutahiko and his best use case, which is just for the single buff, when you can get it elsewhere and a lot more in addition to that. Rest in peace, Sarutahiko.
He deserved better.
He really did. Rest in peace.
Oh well.
He didn't reckon the dough enough, I guess. And Life Wonders was like, they distributed the Evo strength based on how much money they made them. Alright.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, hopefully his variant will be better, if he even gets one. You're free to read out the chat now.
Let's see. Look, I might be a Kamui simp, but in terms of utilities, I voted for Zhurong this time, sadly. Cat in a box. No G. All units are excellent. Not you, Sarutahiko, though.
So
That's
true.
sad. Just slap a buff-based small CP gain on the skill that makes anyone a must-have. No, it's a lie. Oh, my red monkey, Himo, and big package. Smiley with hearts. Banner after I said this before pulling this banner. Here is your Sarutahiko 4 times and no 5 stars or other units. Well, 5 stars are pretty rare. But that's incredible bad luck to only get Sarutahiko out of all the rate up units.
Yeah. It'd be like getting only Otter from Oedo Christmas.
Oh, well, good thing I didn't roll on that one. Sarutahiko is one of the best human units, in my opinion. Life Wonders should be doing more with him. Maybe they will. Thank you, my gotcha luck. I'm still pissed about 6th anniversary banner that I got 5-star Kirito, that I got 5 Kirito and 1 Bigfoot on my last pull. 800 crystals gone. Hey, that's pretty good luck considering if you only wasted 800 stones and got 6 5-stars. But yeah, it's sad that you got 5 Kiritos first.
5 Kiritos, jeez.
Almost maxing Kirito is with 100 stones is pretty damn. Unbased skill evolution, cringe even. Or better off using Gabriel on or Barong.
See, they know. I actually forgot that Barong even had purification now.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Here's your extra damage amp while having nourishment. Oh, what's that? You don't have a skilled show to bestow nourishment? Too bad. I'm pretty sure they designed that because all the onsen hell units had nourishment and they wanted to keep the theme, but the skill evolution could have fixed that. It's over. Onsen hell is over after this. They could have fixed it. Maybe if he gets an alt, he can be usable. I doubt it, but we'll see. Oh yeah, the Jamboree AR. Erbie reading out the emotes is like chatbot reading donations.
Like for real. I never said it because like he just does it all the time. So I just like Erbie, you really have to read them out.
Yes, it's important. I need to read the emojis, otherwise the same sentiment will not be conveyed.
You're channeling that Gen Z aura. Skull.
No. Okay, that's all for the comments.
I mean, it wasn't really all the comments, but sure, I'll...
Oh no, damn it! New comments appeared! Me only getting Summer Gulen, that stupid banner, instead of BMO. Essay maxing units, chat emote. It wasn't quite essay maxing, but I was only one away from maxing Kirito. No, let him. I love him reading it. Yes, it's very important that I read the
Gen Z humor is so funny. You really need to continue doing that. Alright, we're gonna keep on going. Thank you for covering that, Erbie. We are now going to be talking about Mineaki, everyone's favorite doctor who is not sus at all. So yeah, this unit kinda god tier. Well, maybe not that far, but he does a fucking lot for a blow range unit. Well, perhaps because he's a blow range, he does a lot. But yeah, let's start with the changes they made. They didn't actually directly change any skill effects, but they did add a bunch. They gave him concentration on to self at base start, guaranteed, and they also gave a guaranteed effect of a stigma weakening on the board, which enemies with stigma will take an additional 2 times damage, and that conditional will last for 5 turns, so 4 effective turns essentially. But yeah, that's pretty strong because, well, I'll get to it later, but it's considered an irremovable buff for some reason. Not a debuff, but a buff. That's important. I'll get to it later. And in addition, he now has another damage amp, which is not really based on his original sort of way of gameplay, which is when he's hit, he inflicts freeze on whoever hit him, as well as the enemy collaterals that are adjacent to that person that was hit. And that's at a decent rate at 80%. And lastly, he received some random ass effect where whenever he receives buffs, he has an extremely low chance, but it's there and rerollable for Guts to Self, which is, of course, a powerful effect to survive. So let's start off with what is unmodified among his kit. He has essentially his main gameplay style. It's very visible, and even if you don't understand how kits work, you can tell pretty obviously that that's how it's designed here. That he's designed as a switch. He switches between facilitation and disruption, whether he attacks or he misses. And when he attacks, he's a disruptor for the enemy, and not just the enemy hits, but a decent spread of it too. So before hitting, he can inflict movement disablement, which he achieves through fear on whoever he hits, as well as the enemies surrounding that enemy at a 90% rate. Actually, I should start off with, because of his skill evolution, everything is boosted by 10% because of concentration on phase start. So that fear is now going to be 100% as a result. He is also able to deny charges by both that fear, which reduces charge fill or by 10 charge points every end of turn, as well as reduces the 40 CP directly every time he hits enemies and the enemies around the person he hits, and that's guaranteed either way. He is also able to, very importantly, deny skills to the unit he hits as well as the enemies around them at a 60% rate. So that's shakier, and it's not even going to be guaranteeable even with concentration up and skill seeding. And then there is defense mitigation, which is essentially just damage amp, where he has both his stigma effect to the enemy hits as well as the enemies around them at a guaranteed rate because of the concentration at 90%, as well as the stigma weakening effect, which enhances that damage amp by 2 times more. In contrast, if he doesn't hit anyone and he misses instead, then he chooses to facilitate his team as well as himself instead. So when he misses, he has a defense amp, which is essentially just damage mitigation for protection to self and allies adjacent at an 80% rate. Not guaranteed, not even with concentration. There's healing at a 60% rate. He bestows blessing to self and allies that are adjacent. And there's charge fill at 80%. He gives 12 charge CPs to self and allies adjacent. A lot of these are not quite as reliable as the attack effects, which is slightly unfortunate, but we'll talk about why the attack effects are more important to have reliable anyways. And lastly, he does have a damage amp just to his allies, not to self, as well as an activation rate boost, concentration to allies that are adjacent to him every time he misses at an 80% rate. So some of these are guaranteeable if you decide to skill team as well as rely on his concentration. And the last part that's not modified from this kit is he does have that extension of his range when he does get his charge, which he can build up if he decides to miss. He'll switch to weapon change thrust for the 2 turns coming after, which will help him inflict his large spread of debuffs much easier. And yeah, now we'll just start talking about the actual new unmodified rolls. So as I mentioned before, he does actually have that boost in concentration for activation rate that is guaranteed out of the box. So this suddenly makes Mineaki, what was previously a slightly unreliable choice, but still very powerful for Oz coupling. Now, an extremely reliable one that is just, destroys the board. Not that he needed too much reliable anyways, just because of his large spread lets him roll multiple times per enemy. But yeah. He has 4 native buffs, which we'll get to. Or rather, I can summarize them. It's concentration on phase start, as well as protection and blessing before attacking. Or rather, when he misses. And those can help him get his guts up, which is a brand new effect as well. He can tank as a new role. He wasn't really that good of a tank before, but it is a bit better now. In addition to the protection and blessing, he now has guts, and he has 4 different sources of it. So concentration, protection, blessing, as well as the weapon change thrust. And now, most importantly, the newest role that I probably should have brought it a lot sooner, but save the best for last. He is now a damage dealer and damage amp. So before he did increase damage amp before with his stigma, but the fact that he can now doubly increase its effectiveness with stigma weakening as well as concentration to self lets him be more effective as a personal damage dealer, which is going to be important for Oz wipes, which we'll get to in a bit. But he also has a couple of other damage amp sources such as concentration allies, as well as randomly the freeze to the enemies that decide to hit him, as well as the enemies around that unit, or adjacent to them rather. But yeah, his damage potential when you decide to commit to an Oz wipe is still, it's not as great by itself, because he does have a low attack stat, but it is approaching where it's actually usable for proper wipes now. It's just with all range, and if you're using Oz again to give him all range, and stigma weakening, and concentration and ardor from Oz, you are achieving 9,000 damage per square. So very close to 10,000 damage, which is like the golden standard for actual, board wiping some kinds of enemies like mobs. And of course, he can easily break 10,000 if you decide to give him attack seeds, because his attack stat is abysmally low. So that does mean it disproportionately benefits for more attack seeds and level seeds. And you can obviously decide to use other damage amp to make him even stronger than that, such as Walk and Talk Mugen or Qinglong. So I did mention this in passing in the beginning, but as I said before, that weakness strengthening effect is an irremovable buff, and the fact that it's buff means that it plays quite. Oh my gosh, I forgot to switch the slides all this time. Erbie, no. Let me switch the footage right now. Oh yeah, so with Mineaki, because it's considered a buff, he pairs well with Leaked, because in his Valentine variant, Leaked is able to inflict an effect to all enemies, where if they receive a buff, they will self-inflict themselves stigma. So if you have Leaked slotted before Mineaki, then he will give that effect of after buff stigma to self to all the enemies, and then Mineaki's effect will then trigger that because it's considered a buff, and then will also amplify that stigma's damage by 2 times even more. So because of that, they ended up being, some of the strongest board-wide amps for 4 stars in the game. So a very strong couple together. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on Mineaki. You just pair him with Oz, and not only will he, do impressive damage, maybe not massive damage, but he'll also be able to completely shut down the board, which is becoming more common now with the likes of Paladin Mighty as well as Azasoth post-Evos, where they're able to do so much while also inflicting a ridiculous amount of damage. But yeah, that's all my thoughts.
I don't know what they were cooking with this Mineaki skill evolution. He was already a pretty strong unit, so I don't know why he needed all these million effects, because he was really the only one that got the most out of the skill evolution match, and I don't feel like he was the one that deserved it the most, to be honest. He can do so much, but I guess they're trying to compensate it with him being blow range, but even at blow range, he can still disable at least half of the board all by himself. So I don't know what they were cooking here, if they forgot that Oz exists. Probably not, but maybe that was the intent, to make these low range units Ozable with the million effects, so that they're optimal in that use case. But yeah, it's a pretty good skill evolution that makes Mineaki actually more viable in that kind of setup with Summer Oz, while also standing out as an individual unit himself. He already skill up, feared the board, already TP drain, already had defenses, already had offensive buffs for his allies, and also heals. So the fact that he got additional damage amps and also an additional form of defense for himself is pretty impressive. Someone in the Life Wonder skill evolution headquarters must really love Mineaki, because I'm not seeing the Mineaki fans anywhere. Because
he's based right here, Erbie.
I don't dislike Mineaki. He's okay. Though I hear I did remember hearing a lot of hate to Mineaki, but that I'm starting to see dissipate now that they've had to translate him, which is good.
Bestie! Yeah, he's cool. Definitely read his event, because he was nothing but wonderful to all his students, and surprisingly not even sus whatsoever during the event, even though that's his main thing in every other appearance he makes.
Didn't have his eye, so he can't be sus.
That's true.
Yeah, no more thoughts.
Okay, but yeah, definitely, if you have Oz, you just need someone like Mineaki or Mighty or Azasoth, and then the game becomes 1 billion times easier, because they just destroy everything, and even if they don't kill everything instantly, then the enemies can't even do anything immediately after. So very powerful. I'll go ahead and read out the chat. Where did we leave off? There we are.
We left off at the Nyanderu.
Nyanderful, whatever that means. Nyanderful. Is there any cats here? I don't even know. But yeah, confirmed unbased. Rude. Cat that looks like a tissue box. It's best, let's go. Hey Lynn, Summer Oz going to smile upon seeing this combo. Yeah, I mean, he was already one of the best combination units with them. The important thing to take away from this is, though, as now he's no longer just exclusively a utility partner. He can also be used for farming with Oz now too, just because his damage is reaching that level where we can actually clear. More skill ceiling, more members to the Oz harem. So true. So, funny story, for the challenge quest with him, you brought Jacob and Godengach thinking you can just tank the Mineaki phase. You lost in the most hilarious way. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good thing, a good pairing to be making. I mean, yeah, it definitely reduces their damage by a lot, but Mineaki just like shits on the entire board if he lets him hit anyone, so probably not the best idea either way. Let's see. Valentine, Fancy, Ark, and Bigfoot. Who's better? Ark probably, and you know, I don't know. I don't remember Bigfoot's kit that well, so I can't really say that. What do you think, Erbie?
Oh, I was muted. Whoops. I think Ark is still better, yes. Because I don't have a high opinion on Bigfoot to begin with.
I
also don't have a super high opinion on Ark, but I can see use. I don't see use on Bigfoot, though.
Yeah, maybe. Mineaki, switch confirmed? Quite possibly. He's actually a powerbone. I don't really like those kind of jokes, but more power to you. Oz right now is that one eating pancakes meme with all the units he synergizes with right now. It's so true. But yeah, especially a select few within his harem that he definitely prioritizes, like Mineaki here. It's definitely one of my favorite partners with him, along with Thormighty and Azathos. And, like, honestly, the only one that's falling behind in terms of utility partners is Masanori, since he doesn't really have the damage to justify it at that point either. In your opinion, Bigfoot, in case you wanted a team charge boost, does he give charge? I don't even know. Maybe he does. Speaking of Hot Springs themed banner reprint, you're surprised they didn't use the Hot Springs buff from Hot Spring Fun AR. Yeah, that AR was just like, I don't even know what the point of that AR is. You're right here to Erbie. The Mineaki stuns are jumping out. Just as for many human transients, it's been abandoned and forgotten. I mean, Mineaki certainly was abandoned and forgotten. Looking at you, Christine. Maybe. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic. The next topic is going to be Daikoku. So go ahead whenever you are ready, Erbie.
Okay, Daikoku got a pretty low-end skill evolution, but honestly, he really didn't need that skill evolution, at least not as badly as Sarutahiko. So basically, this skill evolution does not increase the amount of damage he deals. He was known for dealing a lot of damage on the first time he hits all enemies, since his main gimmick is cursing the entire board and then getting a crit plus multiplier on them, and removing that curse by applying curse resistance on them, so that they can't exploit that anymore, that 6 times multiplier against curse anymore. He also had nourishment, which made him deal 12k damage, and I'm pretty sure that's the highest damage for 4 stars in the game. 4-star magic damage dealers in the game, so it's looking pretty low. Maybe we need better 4-star magic dealers.
He's still the strongest one out of them, but
it's still the strongest one, yes. But yeah, this has nothing to do with his skill evolution, though. Well, part of it does. Basically, his skill evolution was to his skill Corpse Manager, which gained a few new effects. He's now able to bestow Phase Start Glint to himself. This helps him with his rates, although not quite a lot with the Phase Start rates, especially since it's a 90% glint, so you actually need to skill set him to get this glint guaranteed. But what this glint does, in essence, it just helps him. If you already have him skill seated, it just helps him having an additional chance to apply Vigor and Glint to his allies, since they were pretty low rate before. They will still be low rate after this, but you're almost assuredly going to get them, at least if you hit at least 5 enemies.
The Triton,
especially now with this Glint.
Apologism jumping out again.
What?
The
it's
Triton
true, just like I said
out.
with a nullified ERUF AR before. But yeah, it's at least going to trigger. This Glint is primarily just for that, because it's not even guaranteed, so it's, who cares? It's the only thing that it's going to affect. But the main thing he got is additional damage after he dispels the curse from his enemies. Now he will be able to deal some damage after he dispels the curse, since most of his damage was based on his curse damage modifier. Since he removes that curse from enemies, if he doesn't end up killing them, then he wouldn't deal any more damage anymore, which is pretty sad. But also, it's not something you should aim for. If you're using him, you're probably using him for farming, which you probably should expect him to one-shot the enemies to begin with. But if somehow you don't manage to one-shot them, you will at least retain some of that damage and some of that attack down from the curse with his new buff reversal effect, which is also not guaranteed, and it's not guaranteeable at all, which is pretty sad. But it's still there. It's a catch-up mechanism to help him still deal damage. Most of his damage is not based on end buff, so it's pretty easy to buff. And having another unit that can buff reversal is always nice, since it's, despite we've been getting a lot of units with buff reversal, it's still kind of rare. He also gained an immunity to healing reversal, which, whatever, who cares? No one cares about that part. But yeah, it's just very, very minor buffs. But again, he didn't really need buffs to begin with, so that much. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you used Daikoku before, nothing is going to change now, probably, the way you used him before. He's still the same, still same numbers, except if you fail at using him, you'll have a chance to come back now. That's pretty much it.
Your canary sounds happy, Erbie.
He is.
It's happy that he
loves Daikoku.
with Daikoku, yes. Alright, Erbie's just in the middle of the rainforest right now, just in a journey with Indiana Jones. You know how this. But yeah, this unit, yeah, you're not gonna really be changing how you use it. It's exactly the same as it was before. You're essentially gonna use him for wide map farming because, you know, he's a cost-effective unit that does a decent damage. Decent damage being 10,000 or over because they can kill mobs. And as Erbie said, you know, you can, you know, do a bit more damage after. But it's not just that. They also do much more reduced damage in addition as well. So yeah, the curse reduces damage already. Yeah. But buff reversal reduces it even further, even though they won't have curse. So
they won't have curse. It's just a way to compensate for it.
Yeah, so in a way, it's kind of like it's reversing which one is better. Before, it's like the damage is better, but now it's like the what's it called? Now it's the defense that's better, or the damage mitigation anyways. And in that way, Daikoku becomes slightly more usable for not just farming, but also for challenges as well, where he's trying to one-shot, but if he fails, then he can just, you know, say fuck you, and, you know, they will do like piss all for damage because they'll have curse resistance up, which should disable or activate buff reversal. Does it actually activate it? Probably not, because it's irremovable. Yes. Does it?
No, never mind.
Yes.
It should, though. It should. I haven't tested it out, actually, but it should. I don't know why it's... Huh, that's pretty interesting. More stones, Life Wonders, please, if it doesn't actually work. So I'm pretty sure that's the intended use of the buff reversal to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first thought too, but I only just literally entered my mind just now that maybe it doesn't because it's irremovable. Who knows, though?
But it should, though. Well, time to question Life Wonders. I need to test it. I didn't actually do the skill level quest because stamina costs.
There are plenty of able quests you can test it on. But
no, I meant the quest itself. The skill evolution quest.
Oh, Erbie, come on. Yeah, I made sure the demonstration here did have the Evo, so not yours. But anyway, besides that, yeah, there's not really anything else to say about the unit. He's good. We still, after 3 years later, still don't have a single better 4-star unit besides maybe Zhongxi Tetsuo X, but his is far more unrivaled versus Daikoku's guaranteed out of the box. So, yeah. Just a good unit overall, but kind of simple to use, and you might be able to use him more challenges now. That's it. Just like next to zero comments because no one cares about Daikoku, so we can just move on to the next topic if you want, Erbie.
Over. It's not me is up for the next topic.
Right. We are now going to be talking about the best unit in the game. It's Zhurong! He also has not really changed, but we'll go ahead and break him down. So he has now, within the changes he has, before he inflicted this unique debuff where it forced enemies to take additional flat damage for every debuff they took. That range, or rather its application was directly on the enemy he hit, and it's guaranteed, but now it also applies to the enemies that are adjacent to the enemy he hits. In addition, similarly, his darkness infliction to enemies has now increased from just the unit he hits to the enemy collaterals beside as well, of the ones he does hit. And he now has burn on the exact same range of enemies and their collaterals adjacent at an 80% rate, and he also now has glint to self post buff, which will help him out with his shaky rates for his more important effects. So, what has been unmodified here? Well, as you can see in both his charge as well as in the body of his kit, the most important part is he is a debuff refresher and maintainer, which means that for the unit he hits, whether it's on charge or on regular attack, which is good on that it's on both, which we'll get to later, he is able to remove all the debuffs on the enemy and then reapply them, essentially resetting their timer. So as long as the debuffs have a timer of or a time duration of more than one turn, he can infinitely refresh them. And his quick charge board-wide charge loop has also not changed. He is able to build his charge decently fast, theoretically, because he's able to steal up to a massive 20 CP per turn. The main issue is that enemies don't really start with CP, so he's not going to be stealing anything in the first turn, most likely, but if they survive, then he can steal a bunch of CP, most likely, from there. And then once he does get his charge, he can also steal CP on his charge as well, at a board-wide stage, while also refreshing all debuffs at the same time. So it's very powerful for being able to have this board-wide effect of constantly getting your charge up, as long as there's a bunch of enemies on the board. And lastly, he also resists burn statuses, which is, it's there. Alright, so talking about the parts that have changed, he has now a slightly better activation rate, theoretically. He doesn't have too many ways to activate it himself, though. His glint is after buff at a shaky rate of 40%. The only buff he gives himself, like the only one, is tenacity on phase start. So it's not great, but, you know, presumably you'll be bringing him those other units that can activate it with him. So it'll be dependent on what supportive units bring. Next off, he does have 3 different debuff sources, that being darkness, burn, and conflagration. This will be important because, as I mentioned before, he is a debuff refresher, but that actually synergizes with his flat damage method. So as I mentioned before, he does lifesteal. Actually, I didn't mention that yet, but he actually does lifesteal as well, in addition to stealing charge or CP. And he does that on both his charge and his regular attack. Of course, you gotta watch out for his regular attack, just as with everything else, because that's an 80%. But he is his primary method of inflicting flat damage is not his lifesteal. It's actually going to be his debuff quantity dependent flat damage. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, the spread for a particular effect has increased, but that effect synergizes with debuff refresher, which is the effect to reduce or to self-inflict 2,000 flat damage on self every time they receive a debuff. And that will, of course, affect the enemy hit as well as the enemies adjacent to them. But the important part is when the debuffs are refreshed, that's considered a reapplying the debuff. So that means that this will trigger for every debuff that has been reapplied. And a Zhurong can natively be refreshing darkness, burn, and conflagration. He won't be able to refresh burn or conflagration on first turn because they are inflicted after he attacks, but on subsequent turns he'll be able to consistently inflict at least 6,000 flat damage for the unit he hits after. And yeah, he has a really high, well, relatively high flat damage potential compared to like most other options in the game. And this is probably the main thing that changed after his evolution, which before, you know, he would pretty much just only apply that flat damage refresher on darkness, and that would be it. But in this way he can like trigger the after debuff flat damage effect a few more times. So if For example, if he's hitting units, or if he's not actually hitting a unit and he's applying that debuff that spreads that as that after debuff flat damage, then he will only be dealing 4,000 damage to those units without actually directly hitting them. If he's hitting the unit directly, and there's only like one unit and they're not beside anyone, then darkness will be inflicted, and that would then trigger the after debuff effect. And the burn would also afflict it, but that would not be refreshed, and conflagration, same thing. So that would be, I believe, in total 4,000 flat damage, although only 2,000 would be before the attack damage was actually applied. Now, if he is actually, this is a bit specific, but he is actually able to inflict over 10,000 damage per square on the very first hit, and that's only if he is able to make them both affect both the collateral as well as make them the unit he hits. So, for example, if there's like 2 units directly in front of him, then if he hits the first one, the one behind him will receive the debuff early, and then he'll get both darkness as well as burn early, and then they will both trigger that flat damage effect for 4,000, and then they'll receive another 4,000 flat damage from that after they're refreshed by Zhurong when he hits them directly. So that's 8,000 damage right there, and then there'll be like an additional 2,000 damage from conflagration. That's after the attack damage calculation. And then that's not even considering anything that happens afterwards, which is the burn, dealing 600 damage at the end of turn, as well as 3,000 attack damage for any follow-ups because of conflagration finally being activatable by Zhurong, where it was not before. So with both conflagration and burn, that's just like a lot of flat damage sources on top of everything that can easily pierce the 10k mark, which is the standard for damage actually being usable. So it's somewhat realizable to actually start even surpassing the flat damage from Countdown, for example, which, you know, that's just how good his flat damage is. Of course, the best source of flat damage is still probably Countdown combined with what's called a dot amplification. But if you don't have a dot amp, then Zhurong might actually be your best flat damage source in the game right now. Besides that, he is a tank which is mostly unchanged, although it has improved a bit. He has his tenacity and his darkness red, and he can keep that darkness up indefinitely, so he can keep on tanking as long as those enemies are alive. And he can self-heal in addition to that, and that also applies in his board-wide loop, which will also refresh darkness. And he can deny charge, which will also just reduce any increased damage from charges from his charge steal, or charge fill steal rather, which is also part of his board-wide loop, as well as darkness again. So when it comes to recommendations, it's mostly just he has like gained slight use for being, you know, adjacently helpful to rather adjacent columns, because he now is able to apply the debuff that, you know, after debuff they receive flat damage, and in effect that means if you have like units that are left and right of Zhurong, as long as he's hitting his entire column, then the enemies to the left and right columns will also take a good amount of flat damage if your other column clears are also flat damage heroes. That's a bit of a mouthful, but maybe you understand if you actually try him out yourself. But yeah, he's a bit more supportive there. The rest of his use cases hasn't really changed. You know, just bring him with units that have strong debuffs, because you can permanently disable someone's movement or skill activation or charge skill activation or attack, or, you know, their heal potential with something like heal reversal, just by constantly refreshing the debuff with Zhurong. Because normally that was like the one weakness for debuffs, they would eventually run out, but with Zhurong, that's like not an issue at all. And he can also stack things like defense mitigation, aka damage amp, such as break, stigma, the free stacks from Horkeu, or reflect buff, which is otherwise known as buff reversal. There is also damage mitigation, which works well with, or synergizes well with Zhurong's tanking. He already has the darkness, but you can also throw in there paralysis, dazzle, curse, doubt, reflect buff again. And then you can do some flat damage to make the rare debuffs like Countdown persists a bit longer, and that'll synergize with the rest of his kit too. But lastly, you can also, this is probably your best way of just keeping up all debuff stacks for the few debuffs that do have stacks, which are Freeze and Fatal Poison from Horkeu and Xolotl, respectively. Zhurong is an ample partner with them so that you can take advantage of the stack advantage effects from other units. Fatal Poison stacks, for example, can be taken advantage by Astaroth, while Freeze stacks can be taken advantage of by units like Jacob, his Valentine variant. But yeah, I have talked to this about the game because I love him, so that's it for me, Erbie. Take it away.
I think you spoke way too much for a skill evolution. That was pretty much just more flat damage.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't talking about just the skill evolution. I was talking about his entirety, but yeah.
But yeah, I like the other than that, I like that he has, even though it's a weak way to increase his rate ups, he at least has some form to increase that awful 70% debuff refreshment skill that he had, which was always something that I really didn't like, especially when I was doing the challenge quest videos from 3 years ago. It's fucking 70% wasn't triggering. But yes, now at least he has something that can help him get it all by himself, even though it's only on phase start, so it's kind of pointless. It's probably not going to happen all by himself. It's probably going to need some help with that, but it's a lot easier to get it off at least. And yeah, not much has changed here.
Yeah. Flat damage is cool. Maybe.
Flat damage! It's the flat damage meta.
Remember when that was a huge meme and now it's just like commonplace?
Yes, it's everywhere. I liked it. It was a meme because it was stupid flat damage, like 500 HP flat damage and 1000 flat damage.
Like Spirit or shit like that.
Yes. But now we actually have higher flat damage values, which is no longer a meme. Especially when we got Nightglow's Kurogane. But yeah. No more things to say.
That was fast. Okay, yeah, Zhurong's very cool. I'm gonna read up the chat, and then we can close off the stream. Healing Burb. Have you given your canary a name yet, Erbie?
No.
It's been months
He
already.
will remain nameless forever.
Dying! He's crying in the background because he desires a name.
No, it's impossible.
Rude.
I'm afraid he will remain nameless forever.
Daikoku fans in shambles. Sorry, what?
I don't want to dox my canary.
You dox your canary. Awful. I'm not reading that line out. You're cancelled, Jer. Love you, baby boy. He's the cutest. Christine with 100 CP charge once appearing is in chamber. I mean, Christine's damage is kind of hyper shit now that, like, really, even Kalki's a better choice than Christine. Still one of the craziest permanent 4-stars we have. Yeah, he does, like, way too much. His kit is still a 5-star kit even after all this time, just because of how unique it is and how debilitating it is. There's, like, no other, like, unit that can do this besides Tsukiyomi in a very shitty and unreliable version. And, you know, the fact that Zhurong is an Oz partner too is just, even though he can already ward wipe and refresh all debuffs himself, is ridiculous. So that's why it's important that it's on his regular attack as well as his charge, so that his debuff refreshment is never interrupted. Let's see, someday you'll get the Christmas variant. This was ours magnum opus. You know it. Damn, Ara didn't even mention Amaterasu synergy despite being such a defender. Already forgotten. I read that. I was like, what Amaterasu synergy? Tell me what is the Amaterasu synergy? I don't get it. Erbie, explain.
It's the stupid after debuff effect flat damage that Amaterasu inflicts to the whole board.
That shit.
So you can keep applying it to and stack on top of it, I guess.
She doesn't even apply any debuffs herself, does she?
She doesn't, but she has the stupid debuff, the stupid effect that she applies on enemies that whenever they're debuffed, they deal flat damage to themselves.
Wasn't it like less than what
some shit like
I guess
that.
it like stack. That would also make it harder to apply even more debuffs to refresh. Like it kind of synergizes, but like I don't know. It's a bit extra. You're better off just applying combo on Zhurong or something so that he can get his.
Never use Amaterasu so.
She's still got tanking and charge looping, but I don't know about that part though. That seems like too much effort when you're already balancing a bunch of other things with both Zhurong and Amaterasu. Human voice. Damage! OMG, fake Arslan. Fake. Little bro. Zhurong second variant confirmed. Oh, if only. Yeah, respect the Canny's privacy. Alright, we are going to close off the stream now. So, Erbie and Erbie alone. Thoughts on the Hot Paradise banner, as well as, I guess, the new pickup banners, if you want to talk about that too. And also, you know, the event in general, and the story, and whatever is in your mind.
I think the pickup banners are shit! But yeah. Especially since they don't come with skill evolutions. Supposedly,
I mean, it was on the page. They better not come with evolutions. I'm already working on this stuff for them. I'm gonna be angry if I have to rewrite everyone's scripts and re-record everything.
Well, you're likely not going to have to do that because they are going to stop working for a week or something because of Golden Week. So yeah. Other than that, I always liked Dons in Hell's story, and all the units are great except Sarutahiko, but he's okay. I like Sarutahiko as a character at least. And yeah, that's it. Very excited it's finally translated.
Oh yeah, glad you were able to come by and see it. I did ask if you're gonna see it properly in-game, and you said like you doubted. But the fact that you saw my playthrough, you know, you kind of did, indirectly. The musical type was great, and Zhurong's expressions so sad. That's perfect. You can't watch the story without seeing Zhurong in action directly with the music. So good. But yeah, my thoughts on this banner is it's definitely... It might be like one of the best banners ever, even 3 years later, which is kind of shocking. I don't say that lately, because of course there are like much better individual units, but when I'm talking about like an entire lineup, I don't think there's really any banner as good as Hot Paradise. Can you think of one, Erbie?
Yeah, probably not. I was going to say something silly like Jurassic Summer, but no. I forgot the Mineaki there.
Yeah, no, this one definitely has just overall, like, a far better selection, and, you know, Jurassic only had 5 units anyways, because fucking Reprobus got shackled into the item exchange. But yeah.
Reprobus was the other event, actually.
Was he? Oh yeah, I guess he was. Who was the permanent unit in that one? Seepickley. Oh, fucking Seepickley. Jesus Christ. Useless ass unit. He's cute at least. But yeah. So nice confirmation from, you know, 2 dudes here, 2 mentors. This banner is definitely one of the best you could pull, if not actually the best in terms of overall lineup. So yeah, strongly consider pulling if you just want to, you know, win overall. Anyway, that's it for us. So, suddenly my energy just died. Bye, everyone. Alright, let's just say our byes.
Okay, sure.
On 3, what am I doing? There's only one person here. Laters, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Laters. Bye.
Bye.